Hello there. Welcome back to my channel. Or maybe this is your first time here. I'm so glad you're here. On today's episode, we're gonna talk about why our marriage is falling apart in the West. There are many ways to find out when a marriage is failing. The rate of divorce is one way. Another way is looking at the birth rate. When a society begins to see a decline in the birth rate, it's usually an indication that people are not staying together and therefore they're not producing children like they used to. So what we're gonna do is look at a few different studies. We gonna look at a few different data points and we gonna try to figure out why our marriage is falling apart in the West. For Germany, it was 1.9, for France 1.6, and Russia 1.1. Let's look at another source. The following data is from the United Nations and it's for 2019. Canada had a total fertility rate of 1.48 children born per woman and a divorce rate of 2.2 for every 1,000 people. This compares with 39% of baby boomers in the same countries. Well, according to all the data that we've looked at, there doesn't seem to be any single factor that is responsible for the decline in marriages in the West. Instead, it appears to be a combination of a number of factors. If you did, please remember to like and subscribe. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time. People are getting married later in life, which may mean that they're more selective when it comes to choosing a partner. There also seems to be more emphasis on individual fulfillment and happiness in relationships, which may lead to more couples deciding to divorce if their marriage is not fulfilling. Furthermore, there's an increasing acceptance of divorce in society, which may make it easier for couples to end their marriages. The emphasis on shared values and financial stability when choosing a partner may also contribute to the decline in marriages, as people are simply waiting to find the right person with whom they share these values and who can provide financial security. Lastly, the changing gender roles may also play a role, as traditional gender roles are no longer as prevalent in modern society. In contrast, millennials are less likely than older generations to say that love is the most important thing when it comes to marriage, although roughly 4 in 10 still hold this view. And interestingly, millennials and older generations are about equally likely to say that having a partner who is financially well off is an important consideration when choosing a spouse. So it looks like millennials are putting more emphasis on shared values and financial stability when it comes to marriage, possibly due to the changing times and circumstances compared to previous generations. The best time to visit Amsterdam is during its shoulder seasons, which are the periods just before and after the peak tourist season. These are usually April to May and September to October. Well, it turns out that it's actually really complicated. If you want to learn more about how religion plays into the changing family structure in the West, I encourage you to check out a video I made previously where I go into much more detail. But to sum it up very briefly, it's not as simple as saying that people are becoming less religious and therefore they're getting divorced and the family structure is changing. It's not even as simple as saying that the decline in the birth rate is because people are getting married later. All of those things are true, but there's also a lot more to it than that. There are a lot of other factors at play. During these times, Amsterdam is less crowded and accommodation and flight prices are lower than during the peak season, which is from June to August. In spring, the city comes alive with flowers blooming, especially the famous tulips in the gardens and parks. Summer is warm and sunny, with temperatures reaching up to 25 degrees Celsius or 77 degrees Fahrenheit. However, it can also be quite busy with tourists. Autumn in Amsterdam is beautiful with the leaves turning golden and red. Winter can be cold and rainy, but it also has a unique charm with Christmas markets and ice skating. Accommodation and flight prices are generally lower during the shoulder seasons compared to the peak season. One of the things I want to point out before we get into the meat of this video is that there are many reasons why a country or a region would have a declining birth rate or a higher divorce rate. It could be because of external factors such as wars, economic crisis, famine, plague, natural disaster, etc. In this video, we're going to assume that there are no major wars, economic crises, famine, plague, or natural disasters happening in any of these countries. So let's take a look at some data. In 2021, the total fertility rate for Canada was 1.46 children born per woman. For Germany, it was 1.56. For France, it was 1.82. And for Russia, it was 1.59. A total fertility rate of 2.1 children per woman is considered to be the replacement level fertility. This means that on average, women are having fewer children than what is needed to keep the population at its current level. This is important to note because the reason we're talking about this is because we're going to make a correlation between the total fertility rate and the divorce rate. Again, assuming that there's no war, famine, economic collapse, or anything like that happening in any of these countries. In 2021, the divorce rate in Canada was 2.3 divorces for every 1,000 people. Let's look at some other factors. According to Eurostat, the percentage of never married adults aged 30 to 34 in Europe has increased from 39% in 2002 to 49% in 2021. This is a significant increase in only 20 years. Additionally, the percentage of Europeans who have been divorced or widowed has also increased, from 13% in 2002 to 19% in 2021. Again, that's in only 20 years. This trend towards later marriage and higher rates of divorce and separation suggest a changing attitude towards family and relationships in Europe. Now let's look at the age at first marriage. This data is from the World Bank and it's for first marriage. In 1960, the average age of a man's first marriage in Canada was 25.2. In Germany, it was 24.1. France, 24.2, and Russia, 25.9. In 2019, the average age of a man's first marriage in these countries was as follows: Canada, 32.4, Germany, 32.2, France, 33.3, and Russia, 33.1. Now let's look at the average age at first marriage for women. In 1960, the average age of a woman's first marriage in Canada was 22.8, Germany 22.2, France 22.4, and Russia 24.3. In 2019, the average age of a woman's first marriage in these countries was as follows: Canada 30.2, Germany 30.6, France 31.1, and Russia 29.1. So overall, we can see that there's definitely been a change in the way that people view marriage in the last 50 years. Back then, people were getting married much younger, and now they're waiting much longer. Also, it's interesting to note that in 2019, women were marrying later than men on average in all of these countries. According to the Pew Research Center, half of millennials in 10 countries say that having a partner Who shares their values is more important than finding love when it comes to marriage. So why are marriages falling apart in the West? I know what some of you are thinking. You're probably thinking, well, that's great, but what about religion? How does religion play into all of this? I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you learned something new.